And then that's when that crazy woman started screaming, remember, with the glasses?
United States of America, Donald.
I wonder whatever happened to her. She's probably... I just wonder where she is right now.
For their gracious aid
I am so sorry to my world. I am so sorry to my world. This is not what we want.
He still has not conceded that election. He did not concede that election, and you are fomenting something in this country that is unprecedented.
So here's the context, and this is where I'm trying, I swear, I'm trying to come around to your point, and that is that the 2020 election cannot be taken out of the context of a 2016 election that Hillary at different times absolutely did not concede, that some of my, unfortunately, former bosses in the intelligence community working with the Democrat Party decided to bring this absurd... The Russia collusion investigation was insane. Nothing came out of this. There were no charges out of this. The whole thing was a scam. And Hillary didn't accept that she had lost the election in the early days afterwards. Now,
except she showed up to the inauguration.
No, she showed up at the inauguration.
She showed up that night.
Yeah, right.
Before the cock crowed, she conceded.
But there was also, in 2020, January 6th was a riot. Riots are bad. Riots are illegal. That should not happen. It came after months of riots that were effectively a Democrat mobilization of the BLM party. Well, I mean, I was on my block, and people came around, and they shattered all the windows, they stole stuff, and yeah, this is for social justice. And then there were people who were boarding up their stores because they were afraid that if Donald Trump won that election, then in cities across America, there would be rioting. So the election was effectively held under a degree of duress to begin with, and Democrats were all in favor of the riots, not only in favor of the riots that were going on, but we had the public health experts during COVID saying, oh, it's so important that we have these lunatics running around breaking things and letting them on fire, that all of a sudden the public gathering statutes are...
All right, guys, so we got to continue our conversation about the mainstream liberal media's latest, but very played out, fear-mongering tactic right before the election to try to scare people into not voting for Trump, okay? Because they're trying to influence the outcome of the election in favor of Kamala Harris. They know that Kamala Harris is currently losing, so now they're getting desperate. And when they get desperate, the first thing they want to do is talk about 2020. They want to talk about January 6th, okay? And we have to react to this panel discussion on CNN that is going to erupt because a conservative writer by the name of Ryan Girdusky is going to call out the Democrats and their hypocrisy on this conversation around election denialism and political violence as a result of Democrats not liking the election results, which is something that Democrats have a long history of. And I feel like I have to bring receipts to this conversation because Democrats, liberals like Van Jones, act like Democrats never question elections. They never commit acts of political violence as a response to losing elections. They never get upset when they don't get their way, okay? They don't contest elections. This is what they act like, right? They're trying to rewrite history, a history that has been well documented, and we're going to go over it, okay? I got to bring the receipts here because I'm sick and tired of Democrats trying to pretend as if they're holier than thou when it comes to this issue. So without further ado, roll the clip.
Like 5 chances. We played several. 5 chances to say whether Trump lost in 2020. He deflected answering the questions with questions. I mean, he used to work for Senator J.D. Vance. Why not just say an answer to the question that sounds like what rhymes with either Bess or Doe?
I have worked for him in the past in the Senate race. I don't work for him currently in his vice president's race. I just want to be clear. The whole idea of the 2020 election being this linchpin for Democratic voters as the number one issue that is motivating them is certainly true for people in the media. It's certainly true for a lot of reporters, and it's certainly true for a lot of Democratic donors. But the average American really has put this behind them, and it's become a thing where you want to either get JDs that they are in and attack the president is what the media is really trying to do, and he's not going to do that. So it's kind of a non-thing, especially getting a chance to speak to the future vice president possibly about really concerning issues rather than talking about the outcome of an election that is over. And Joe Biden is currently sitting president, although I'm not sure if he even knows that yet.
The reason that it's an issue for people who you might want to write off as media people is because this is a part of a pattern that we've seen repeat in history and in other countries. When you have a major leader that tries to undermine faith in democratic institutions like the courts, like elections, like the media, those dominoes tend to fall in a certain direction toward more authoritarian rule. And so that's why people are concerned. Now, it's the easiest thing in the world to say, yes, he won the election, and he's going to lose. Yes, Biden won the election, and Kamala Harris is going to lose the next one. That's what any normal politician would say. When you have a politician like a J.D. Vance or like a Donald Trump who will not behave on the campaign trail like a normal politician, it raises fears that they will not behave in office like a normal elected official, and that's where the concern comes from.
You need to answer of whether or not you would continue the peaceful transfer of power, if you would continue these institutions that we rely on in place. But when you look at voter issues, to Ryan's point, democracy tends to rank a little bit, I can't believe it does, but it tends to rank lower and the 2020 election.
Ryan, what's your thought?
This is just ridiculous because I'm sorry, Stacey Abrams never accepted the results of her 2018 election. Hillary Clinton said Russia stole the 2016 election. Democrats denied the 2000 elections. Democrats denied the 2004 elections. Every election, Democrats don't win. They kick and stamp their feet. They sit there and they say it's stolen. They say we need to pack the Supreme Court, make Puerto Rico and DC a state, make sure that other voters are disenfranchised, give citizenship to illegal aliens, making sure Americans' votes counts for less. They don't listen. If you're going to care, I care about democracy. I care about democracy.
You don't care much.
I care about keeping it. Yeah, I do clearly because I support Stacey Abrams.
Hold on,
Ryan, they don't march in DC, Ryan. Like, that's the difference, right? Like, you're pointing to, I agree with you. Hillary Clinton said that. Stacey Abrams said that. You know what they didn't do? They didn't organize a rally. They didn't tweet about it. Peter Navarro didn't tweet about it. They didn't have all of these other subsidiary people organize an event. Like, look, this is not rocket science. It happened. The revolution was televised. We all saw it that day of what happened. Like, I agree with you that the American people want to move on from that. But if you can't acknowledge that it happened, how can we move on from something? If you can't meet me in the middle of the sky blue and the sun is yellow, how are we supposed to have a conversation?
I completely agree with you. January 6th was horrible and it was disgusting. Nonetheless, and yet still, if you care about the institution of democracy, Democrats have been disenfranchising it for 20 years since the Bush election.
That's a complete lie.
They said Ohio was stolen in 04.
When you get finished with your talking point,
hold on. Don't talk over each other. Van, finish your point. Go ahead.
You're letting him ramble on with these talking points that you could pull out of a Cracker Jack box. Listen, if you're serious about democracy, you cannot try to normalize what Donald Trump did. Listen, yes, you have spoiled brats and sore losers after every Little League game. That's not what we're talking about. Yes, there have been Democrats who were unhappy with the Supreme Court giving 2000 to W. What we've always had, though, is something called a concession speech.
Yeah, so what we have here is another classic example of, well, because it's a Democrat, it's different, right? D for Democrat, D for different, right? It's different because Democrats do it, so therefore they shouldn't be criticized for undermining democracy. Again, these are the same people who constantly undermine the Supreme Court, right? These are the same people that will tell you that the Supreme Court is illegitimate, right? It has been hijacked and that they should be able to pack the courts, right? They constantly show distrust in the legal system, in the democratic process, right? Whether that be, again, the courts, the Supreme Courts, or when they lose elections. And my favorite part about this clip is one of these liberal panelists, propagandists, basically claiming that, well, there was no riots after Hillary lost. They didn't do any of these things that we saw happen on January 6th. And again, this is the part about this that annoys me so much because they just conveniently forget that no. You had riots and protests and vandalism in the streets because of Hillary Clinton claiming that the 2016 election was stolen and that Trump is an illegitimate president. Take a look.
All of a sudden, the police officers started to spray pepper spray, and they got our audio technician. They're coming. See us running because they're going to throw more flashbangs.
The chaotic scene just blocks outside the secure area of the inauguration and parade route.
I personally have anti-establishment slants, but I don't think that this is anything that I want to be a part of.
This checkpoint is closed!
Before the swearing-in ceremony even began, protesters tried to block checkpoint entrances. During President Trump's speech, several demonstrators were escorted out of the area. Several officers injured during the protest today, and more than 100 people arrested. Once the inaugural parade began, the newly sworn-in president facing thousands of peaceful protesters amongst his supporters. NBC's Stephanie Gosk was with him all day.
When Donald Trump took the oath of office, the people here sang, "We shall overcome."
Resist from day one!
Similar demonstrations across the country. Arrest outside Trump Tower, New York City. A human chain across San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. From Phoenix to Houston to Chicago, people protesting the country's new president on his first day in office.
Tonight, thousands of protesters remain in downtown D.C., occasionally facing off with police. We have seen many people injured, both protesters and police officers.
A limousine set on fire as demonstrators wreaked havoc in Washington. Police had to push back the protesters so firefighters could get to the flames. A group of people carrying anarchy flags pushed over trash cans and destroyed storefront windows as they swarmed through the streets.
We welcome visitors to our city, but we will not tolerate the destruction of our neighborhoods, and we absolutely will not tolerate violence against our police officers.
But as night fell, protesters lit a bonfire just blocks from the White House. Closer to home, near Mar-a-Lago, protesters wheeled a coffin to symbolize the death of democracy. And now a familiar scene outside Trump Tower in Chicago, a huge crowd of demonstrators making their voices heard.
Now, wait. Hold on now. Hold on. That to me looks a whole lot like an insurrection, right? According to the Democrats and their definition of an insurrection, okay? Hillary Clinton claimed that the 2016 election was stolen by Russia, Putin, right? Facebook ads, right? This is what they claim, okay? Facebook ads made black people not vote for Hillary, right? That's literally what they claim, okay? That's all they have, okay? And because of Hillary's claims, there were democracy riots, right? People protesting because of the death of democracy. Now, what does that imply? Because Trump was duly elected, right? He was elected. What that implies is that they believe that the 2016 election was stolen, and because of that, they rioted, they committed acts of violence at the Capitol, okay? During Trump's inauguration. Again, sounds, looks a whole lot like an insurrection to me, according to the Democrats and their definition. Yeah, but see, because it's Democrats, it's different, right? Because Democrats did it, okay? It's different, right? That wasn't an insurrection. That was just a peaceful protest, right? That's what they'll tell us, okay? They peacefully protested. There wasn't violence. Police officers weren't getting hurt, okay? And again, the crazy thing about this, guys, is that the government ended up dropping a lot of the charges against these Democrat insurrectionists, right? It's funny how that works. Trump saying that, hey, you know, some people on January 6th should be pardoned, right? They shouldn't be in jail because they were peacefully protesting. Oh, well, no, that's wrong, right? No, you can't say that. You can't do that. You can't pardon the January 6th protesters, right? But when you had the Democrats protesting against Trump committing acts of violence on Inauguration Day, the government decided that, hey, all their charges should be dropped. Again, it's funny how that works. Again, it's so funny. The hypocrisy here from these people, again, it's just stunning. They have no room whatsoever to talk on this issue. But yet they want to continue to talk about it as if they're not the OG election deniers. Like they haven't had their own January 6s, right? Multiple. Because it wasn't just in Washington, D.C. It was all over the country on Inauguration Day. These people were committing acts of violence, chaos, destruction. And the truth is that they haven't stopped since then. Every time they can't get their way, the first thing they do is they commit acts of violence and chaos. And the reason why they do this is because they've been emboldened to do it because there's never any consequences for these individuals, right? And that's something I think has to change under the next Trump administration. I'm so serious. These left-wing violent rioters have to face consequences for committing acts of violence. It's time to stop turning the cheek and to start to give these people a taste of their own medicine. Because again, they're allowed to get away with it. But when conservatives lash out for one day, they want to throw the book at conservatives. They want to lock you up in prison and throw away the key. And then say that you're a bad person if you say, oh, no, these people aren't getting a fair trial, that the system is against them. We know that there's a double standard because I just pointed out to you guys. Democrat insurrectionists, they get their charges dropped, right? BLM, they got their charges dropped. A lot of those people. The Roe v. Wade rioters, they got their charges dropped. A lot of those people, the pro-Palestinian, all these people, all of them, they get away with it. But everybody that participated in January 6th, though, oh, no, well, you got to lock them up, throw away the key, right? They don't get a slap on the wrist. They don't get a second chance. They don't get the benefit of the doubt. And that's one of the most frustrating parts about this whole conversation. The double standards, the hypocrisy, the denial of history, right? Which is that Democrats started all of this, right? Democrats are the ones that have been contesting elections for the last 20 years straight. Every one that they lose, they protest, they riot, they contest it in Congress. They make all types of crazy claims about the elections, the machines, all this stuff. They constantly talking about trying to destroy the Supreme Court, right? Trying to undermine the judicial system. This is what they talk about all the time, 24/7. But yet they want to pretend as if they're holier than thou, right? That they're not exactly who they say their opponents are. Again, this is just another example. Again, listen to these people. Everything they accuse conservatives of doing, of being, Trump, everything they accuse him of, that's what they're doing, right? That's what they're doing. And that's the crazy part about it. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.